Can you change it on YouTube?
Maybe.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Yeah. Perfect.
So,
I'm so glad that you're here.
Woo! We'll figure it out.
Okay. Members. Yep. Platinum and higher. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. That's right.
Okay, and this is where we're going to change the thumbnail.
That's right.
Okay. Desktop. Screenshot. Bing. It's too big, of course, so first I gotta edit that. Create a stupid... Oh, I think it just took us live.
Hey!
Hey, everybody!
Go live to your impersonation of the guy in Home Alone.
I just have to create a little screenshot here. Duplicate. Save.
There we go. Yep, I see live.
Okay.
Pulling it up.
Use that.
Hey!
Oh.
I see us.
Oh. I'm gonna use this one. Open. Perfect.
All right.
And save.
Hey, chat.
Hey, everyone.
Oh, well, while we wait for people to come in, I've got a kind of funny story.
Yeah.
To start with.
Yeah.
So,
Need to adjust things. Can you hear us okay? Etc.
my son, he still drinks a bottle to go down for a nap.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of milk.
He's 2.
Yeah. So, not a bottle, a sippy. We'll just get a little sippy of milk. And so, anyways, we are out of milk, so I have to go to the store. And I live on the edge of, like, basically you have to go up a bridge to get to my house. And so I get the milk, and I'm coming back home, and there's a trailer parked on the side. And for whatever reason, the guy just decides to do a U-turn on the top of the bridge.
Oh, no.
Which, never flip a U-turn on a bridge.
No.
Like, that's a terrible idea. So I slam on my brakes, and my milk goes flying from the front and hits my dashboard and explodes everywhere. And I dumped
not funny. That sucks.
It sucked so bad. It dumped an entire gallon of milk in my passenger seat floor, and it happened yesterday. So I'm like,
it's gonna
smell like rotten milk. I mean, I don't know what to do. Chat, what do you do?
Yeah,
how do you get rid of milk?
You hire a detailer and pay $150 to get your car cleaned. Is what you do.
Oh man, I was livid, but you can only laugh about it.
Oh shoot, that sucks,
man.
What
do you
do? How many comments do we have about my man bun?
We got one. Colby, time for a haircut. Says Matt Marshall.
Just wait till you see the videos that are going to be coming out, and you have to watch me with a man bun the whole frickin' time. It's the worst. I'm just doing my best to Sokka impersonation. I will be cutting it soon, but it's kind of like every time I do it, I laugh at myself, and then later in the day, I'm like, I kind of like it. Maybe
it's good.
Maybe I kind of like it. So I don't know. We'll see how long I can endure.
Zanny says nothing wrong with having a man bun.
Okay, but Zanny, you probably have a man bun, right? So I think only people with man buns feel that way.
I tried one for a brief period of time.
Yeah. And
similar, some days I'd wake up and be like, yeah, and then other days I'd be like,
no.
Not for my face.
Yeah, no.
And not for me.
And I used to, not to spend too much time being a narcissist. My hair has been long for a while, right? And I've been growing it out, but it was also really long on the sides, and that just would drive me crazy, because it gets curly, on the sides and in the back, but only on the sides and in the back. In the front, it's maybe a little wavy, but not really. You know what I mean? And so it would just be curly, 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 and then just straight. And I'm like, oh, I hate this so much. And my wife didn't want me to cut it. She liked it. And some days I liked it and some days I didn't. And so finally, on my birthday, a couple of weeks ago, I'm like, I'm just going to shave the sides. You got to let me just shave the sides. She's like, I don't care. Do what you want. I'm not your boss. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I need to grow up. And so I shaved the sides. And then I was like, well, now that it's short on the sides and the back, I could put it in a man bun if I wanted. I've never been able to do that. I've always wanted to have samurai hair. And so
it's true. I think it's the samurai thing.
I
want to wear chainmail or whatever
a gi?
bamboo.
Oh, like a
like
yeah,
their
yeah,
little
yeah, yeah.
samurai. Like,
Yeah.
and I want to roam around the streets like
Yeah,
that.
for sure. And so yeah, I'm just living my Sokka life right now, and then I'll probably cut it sometime in the next
You just need to carry a boomerang.
few days. I think that's good.
Perfect.
Chat
Chat says, just wear it long. I don't understand having long hair and wanting a shortened style.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
because my hair doesn't look very good when it's just flappy. I think, anyways, I don't like the way it looks.
Throbbing member says, I also have a man bun, and it's great.
All right.
So, I don't know.
Team
I think
man
we got
bun.
both. We got it coming from both ways here. So.
How's the sound, everybody? Mike is droopy as usual.
The standard.
Yeah. What else? We just got back from lunch where I basically spent a good 45 minutes complaining about Red Rising. If any Red Rising fans out there, Pierce Brown?
Yeah.
Pierce Brown. He's done, 7 books in this world now?
I think
6?
6, and the 7th is coming out soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first, there's like 2 trilogies, right? The first one, I'm in the middle of book 2. And like, obviously I like it enough to keep reading,
Yeah.
right? And book 2 is a lot better than book 1.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of things about the author's writing style and things that he does that just bother me. So I just felt like I had to like purge all of that like angst that I was holding on to, because Dallin recommended the books to me, right? Which is the main reason why I've been reading them. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, first of all, like, I like these books. They are good. Now let me rant about them for 30 minutes so I can just like get all of this stuff off my chest, and then maybe I can enjoy them more because I will have like cleansed my soul of all of the things that bother me. They're good though. They're very good. Recommended. As long as you're okay with like maybe a little bit more YA feel, especially in book 1.
Yeah, especially book 1. And I think it's just more the style of the author is
Sure.
kind of that shorter first person,
Sure.
like staccato
There people have compared the series a lot with Hunger Games, and I think for good reason. There's
especially book 1.
Especially book 1. There's some similar kind of feels and even things going on in the book, right? Or like Ender's Game. I think you mentioned.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it almost feels a little more Ender's Game than Hunger's Game, or maybe a mix between the two.
I think so.
Anyways, they're good. Anybody else read?
Nothing about Red Rising so
no
far,
comments?
but Steven Sal, thanks for the hundo, says,
Thanks, Steven.
Hey Colby, loving the man bun. I keep finding myself going back to BG3. Don't we all? Are there any things you are hoping for besides not waiting for it that you want for BG4? Are we getting a BG4? Because I thought Larian...
Not from Larian.
So there might be one just
I'm
from a different
sure.
studio.
I can't imagine Wizards of the Coast being like, yeah, we're good.
One of the most
You know what I
successful
mean?
games ever.
Yeah.
Let's get out
Like,
of here.
they'll probably I'll bet they hire Obsidian or I mean, I shouldn't be crossing my fingers. Like BioWare, if it were like old BioWare,
Yeah.
right? But I bet if they went to BioWare and they were like, hey, if you can do this right, we'll give it back to you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
What would I hope for BG4? Gosh, like more of the same. I mean, more subclasses for sure. More of what you had to mod BG3 to get.
Yeah.
5e spells mod, right? Like stuff like that. I
like
would
graphic wise, you almost don't even need an upgrade. You could just
Sure.
kind of keep that.
Yeah,
the way it is.
but I'm sure
Larian has
Larian
like a-
owns that engine, so
Yeah.
they'd have to do something else. But, gosh, what else? Like, yeah, just more, like more races, more feats,
Yeah.
more spells, more subclasses. Bring artificers in, right? All that kind of stuff. I think would be like my number one want. Beyond that, gosh, it was such a great game. I mean, it is such a great game. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, like, because part of me wants to say like maybe more options for like the story to really be like impacted by your choices.
Sure.
Sometimes it could feel a little railroady, right?
Sure, there's key moments that everybody hits. No
Yeah,
matter what you do.
and you could do things that would impact the story and change things, but it was almost like it still would just bring you back. It just now you're a bad guy, but like the same thing still happens or whatever. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that might be kind of cool. Like I appreciated that about Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, for example. One of my favorite games of all time, though it is very long in the tooth. That needs a remake. Without spoiling it, it's 20-something years old. Like, you know, you could kind of go light side or dark side, and I feel like it would really, like, oh my gosh, you're like trying to take over the universe or save the universe. And maybe the only major differences were like the cutscenes. Now that I'm thinking about it, but it still felt like very impactful. In BG3, I mean, I guess you can like become the what's it called? You can like control the Elder Brain instead of destroy it.
Option.
But that was almost like an afterthought. Like the end cutscene for that is just like you're like, and now I'm in control. The end. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, we could have got like a little more there.
Yeah.
So yeah, or I don't know. Did Dragon Age Origins do a better job of that? Of like, would you say of like having the story be more impacted?
Since I played, and I'm really bad at this when I play these type of games where I'll play one way and then be like, okay, I'm going to go be the bad guy.
But you can't.
And then I just play the same way I played last time and make the same choices.
And that might be why I say that about BG3, because it's like, oh no, there were plenty of like branching options. You just always chose the same thing because you couldn't stomach like being a bad guy or whatever. I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, those would be my biggest things. Speaking of, and in case you guys haven't noticed, I'm very hesitant to say this. I'm definitely not going to say this publicly, but I can share it with you guys because you guys are awesome. I think I'm probably done with BG3 content. Hopefully my platinum membership doesn't take a nosedive after hearing that. I mean, I'm always open to potentially doing more, but like, you know, if you notice, pretty much every BG3 video I've done has performed worse than the one before it, which is fine. That's to be expected. Same thing happened with Pathfinder, right?
Right.
And it's like it got to a point where the BG3 content, the last video that I did, the Ninja or whatever, actually underperformed compared to like the D&D video that I did before and after. And that to me is always kind of a signal of like, okay, like I think, you know, the most of your viewers are done with this, or at least enough of them are done with it that it doesn't make like business sense to continue doing Baldur's Gate content. And to be clear, like I would continue to make content for it anyways if like that's what I really wanted to do. Like views and view count and like ad revenue and all that comes into play when I'm trying to decide on you know what to do next. But it's not the first thing that I consider. The reality is, after beating the game, I think for the 5th time, maybe the 6th, and doing a bunch of videos on it and I'm probably at 300 and, I don't even know, 50 hours into it or something like that. I just kind of went, I think I'm done. And I think...
You just Forrest Gump running and then you just stop.
Yeah. And I think it seemed like most of my viewers got to that same point.
Yeah.
There's still going to be people out there who are wishing that I would create BG3 content. Just like there are people out there who wish that I would continue to make Pathfinder content.
Yeah, there's always at least one comment.
Yeah. But it's just kind of like, I'm not personally super interested in doing it, and it doesn't make a lot of sense financially for me to do it. So when those two things meet, it's kind of the signal to me of like, okay, like time to move on.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, I think I will always be occasionally bringing in, you know, other role-playing games, whether video games, maybe, especially if it's like D&D heavy, D&D adjacent, build heavy. Like, you know, there's a lot of build options to kind of tweak your character. I can see myself when Dragon Age 4 comes out, assuming that actually ever happens, you know, I can see myself maybe doing something there. can I say this? The Brandon Sanderson TTRPG that's going to be launching in Kickstarter late summer, early fall. I'm planning on doing a video for, and I've actually been in talks with Brotherwise Games, who are making that.
That's awesome.
So yeah, my plan is to do the same kind of thing that I did with Pathfinder a year and a half ago, where I say, okay, like I've devoured the core rule book or whatever,
Right.
and I'm ready to like share with you guys. If you're a D&D vet, here's what you need to know about this Stormlight Archive
Right.
TTRPG, and like what are the major differences, and how to kind of approach this as a veteran of TTRPGs, to help you be able to just jump right in.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited about that. Mostly just because it's Stormlight Archive, yeah, and it's like
Stormlight,
it gets me
yeah.
one step closer to like Brandon Sanderson. Is probably what it is. I'm realizing I need to change the. Well, no, I don't. Never mind. Yeah. Anyways.
Cool. Well,
What else we
chat.
got?
Let's go to chat. So I agree. Nothing needs to be changed. Just new locations, characters, customization. I agree. New locations would be really cool. Can you imagine
Sure.
Strahd, like, doing
Get us
Strahd
to
setting?
get us to Waterdeep.
Ooh,
Get us to
Barovia.
Barovia or like Icewind Dale. I mean, there's so many places to
Yeah.
explore.
I mean, the jungles of Alm. Like, there's a
Yeah.
bunch of places.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Are you interested in doing DC-20 content?
That is a funny question, considering that just yesterday I recorded an ad spot for DC-20 because they are sponsoring a video, but it's just like a 2-minute plug, not a full dedicated video.
Yeah.
Alan is such an awesome guy, and I really like his system. I do. I just played it once. I did that one shot a few months ago, and it was fun, and I was encouraged by what I saw. And whether or not I'll do like dedicated DC-20 videos will probably depend more on the success of the game. I hate to say that, because I could probably help increase the success of the game if I did dedicated content for it. It's just the challenge is not only am I interested in doing it, and does it make sense from a business perspective or whatever, but also like, do I have the time? Because like learning a whole new system, and that was a big challenge with Pathfinder actually, and maybe part of the reason why I stopped making the content. It was just like I know enough to be dangerous, but not to really consider myself like super knowledgeable and able to like optimize. You know what I mean?
Sure,
and
sure.
and I've sort of created this persona, or I don't know, like
It's like your brand.
convinced people
Yeah.
that like I know what I'm talking about, right? And like, let me tell you, like, and say with confidence, like, these are the rules and this is how the
Right.
game works, and looking at all of the different options, like, I think for our situation, for what we're trying to create, this is probably the best option. And I just never quite got to that level with Pathfinder. I got kind of maybe close,
Yeah.
but then there were tons of like additional books that I hadn't read and really dived into.
It's hard,
and
too, when you
spells and
like have the whole world like
Yeah.
immersive, like you are with D&D. You basically live that world,
Right.
And Pathfinder, you kind of just come to it and you're like, okay,
Right.
what's this place, Galarian?
Right.
What's going on? What's the
Yeah.
what are the gods? And
Yeah.
it's like that's a ton. Not only are you digesting the game, now you're digesting the setting,
The world.
and the gods, and everything. It's a
and
lot.
so with DC-20, I feel like I would need to, because I didn't start this YouTube channel until I'd been playing D&D for 3 or 4 years,
Yeah.
right? If you
Or at least 5e,
if
right?
you can, yeah, 5e, maybe 2 years or 3. Anyways, if you count like AD&D older versions, then even longer. And so like just being like, okay, I'm an expert on DC-20 now, and granted, like I think audiences can be forgiving, right? And you can say, look, like I'm no expert, but like I have a pretty decent like ability to break stuff down and
Sure.
analyze it, and so like as far as I can tell, or what I hedge my statements a lot more, it would probably be fine, right? But like, I would feel like I need to be playing this game, so we got to like make our game like a DC-20 game now, or I need to find a regular one
Yeah.
so that I'm playing it and getting experience. and that's just, that's a big time investment that I don't necessarily have right now, and that's what makes it difficult. That said, like, I found the time to play BG3. I mean, I played 350 hours of it over,
Sure.
a 6-month span or whatever. So it's not that the time doesn't exist.
Yeah, there's this like magic of like the right amount of interest, the right amount of, like you said, what's good for the channel.
Yeah.
That it kind of sparks like, okay,
Yeah.
I can devote time to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess I would just add at the end, the difference there, of course, is with a video game that's largely single player. It's got multiplayer options, but where you can just kind of play whenever you have a chunk of time, as opposed to a tabletop game where it's like,
Scheduling is a
as
nightmare.
we are experiencing right now, because we keep canceling our game.
Our monthly game is a quarterly game.
Yeah, it's like, it's a lot more difficult, right?
Steven Saul in the chat says, have you thought of doing more collabs with the Dungeon Dudes for builds with their content?
I would always love to do whatever I possibly could with Kelly and Monty. They are two of my favorite humans. I haven't reached out to them, although Kelly did just send me a message 2 days ago saying that they called me out in a video that's about to come out. I think it comes out, maybe it came out today, or maybe it comes out next week. They're looking at a third-party developer and subclass options for that third party.
Okay.
I can't remember who it is now. I will tell you if you will give me one moment. He said, we called you out and, you ought to do a build. I think they must have said,
They did, a
I'll bet
challenge.
Colby could, make a cool character with this subclass or whatever, like they were doing with their multi-class tier rankings videos. And I wasn't super familiar with, okay, here we go. Heliana's Guide, which I'm not familiar with, but they were looking at subclass options from it, and apparently there's a cleric subclass that he thinks it's called the Hunt domain. It's like a ranged cleric that uses a bow, and they get some cool features. And I mean, I don't usually do third-party stuff. I've done 2 Blood Hunter videos, neither of which performed particularly well.
Yeah.
And then the one video that I did with Kelly and Monty in their studio, right, looking at their Drakenheim, one of their monk subclasses, which was a lot of fun. And that video actually did perform really well. I have to believe that it was largely because Kelly and Monty were on the thumbnail and it was them. But... yeah, so I tend to shy away from third-party content generally because for business sense purposes. But if Kelly and Monty are going to shout me out in one of their videos and challenge me to do something, I'll probably do it, even if it means that the video underperforms. It's kind of I don't care. It's Kelly and Monty.
It's just a chance to do a collab.
But I think I might one day do the other subclass that they have for Drakenheim. It was this Way of the Serpent. It was a viper serpent. It was a snaky subclass, basically, that let monks use two-handed weapons, like great weapons, and particularly I think glaives, halberds. And yeah, Kelly kind of was like, "Oh, I'd love to see what you could do with this," and he kind of left it at that. And actually, one time they did issue a challenge to me in one of their videos, and this was a while ago, where they were like, maybe Colby could do something with monks and heavy weapons, but it's not viable. And I saw that and I was like, I'm gonna pretend like I didn't see that, because it's not viable, and I don't know that I could make this good without just saying we're gonna take monk levels because I'm supposed to. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Anyways, but I could do it with the subclass that Kelly came up with for their Drakenheim book. So yeah, that would maybe be a way to kill 2 birds with one stone.
There you go. Okay, let's jump over to the Discord questions. We have a couple here. So let's see. From Corel, do you know if you'll get early access to the 2024 player handbook to make content for launch? I think maybe that face is good.
I have signed a non-disclosure agreement that prohibits me from talking about that question.
Okay, right, next question from Corel. Same question, or same person. Have you looked at Tales of the Valiant at all? I think is another third party.
No, I have not. Tales of the Valiant. Who's it by? If you're out there,
let me do a little Google search here. While I look that up, Zanny, or maybe someone in the chat, no, Zanny over on Discord as well said, "What are your thoughts on the new Warlock setup concerning spell slots and their management compared to the current setup?" I asked because to me it sounds like they're getting both amped in many ways and severely nerfed at the same time.
I only heard about a third of what you said because I was still thinking about that question about the new player's handbook. It's like, what can I say and what can't I say? I guess I'll just say stay tuned.
Perfect.
That's all I can say.
Perfect. I didn't mean to let.
No, it's okay. I'm just like, oh shoot, like I don't want to get in trouble, and so stay tuned. I am very excited for the new 2024 stuff. Okay, sorry. What was the question that you would ask me?
About Warlocks.
Okay, Warlocks.
What are your thoughts on the new Warlock setup concerning their spell slots and their management compared to the current setup? And then they say, I ask because to me it sounds like they're getting both amped in many ways and severely nerfed at the same time.
You know what? Okay, now is the time for me to display my ignorance. Because unlike my friend Chris, right, Treant Monk, and others, I have not been super invested in like the UA, in the 1D&D, playtest stuff. I have a little bit here and there selectively. Like for monks, like I did a deep dive, right? And I did a couple of collabs with Will, D&D Schwartz, kind of like going over like, oh, like playtest 8 just dropped. Let's like talk about everything and just like read through it and react to it live kind of thing. But then I kind of put it out of my mind for the most part. Just I think primarily because I just haven't felt like I have had the time, or maybe I just didn't want to invest the time in like really digging into something, knowing that there was a high likelihood that it could change.
Sure.
And so this is a perfect example because you asked that question, and in my head I go, well, like I thought that they were making some big changes to Warlock spells and things and basically making them more like a full caster, and then they like backtracked on all of that, and they are essentially similar to how they are today, which is packed or not packed. What's the word that I'm looking for? Anyways, they've got spell slots that reset on a short rest. There's fewer of them. I thought that they were always like their highest level available, and so I'm just kind of like, what am I missing? Like, what do I not know about the planned changes for warlocks and their spells and spell slots? So apologies that that question is falling flat here, and maybe what I'll do, we can continue the How about we continue the conversation in Discord, and I can take a few minutes and kind of look over whatever the latest is for warlocks and their spellcasting and how it's going to be changing, and maybe offer some more insight.
Oh, sounds good. By the way, Tales of Valiant from the chat is saying it's Kobold Press. I think it's their Black Flag.
Black Flag. Yeah.
So.
Another one again, like that I haven't spent a lot of time. Like I haven't taken a very deep look at like Matt Mercer's system, like Kobold Press. I think the main reason why I know as much as I know about DC20 is because Alan like reached out to me and was like, hey, like you want to do a one shot? And like, and I was like, yeah, sure. And he's like, I'll teach you the game. Great. Like, so I kind of had somebody to hold my hand and kind of walk me through it and then play the game with me. And like, and that was a lot of fun. But all of these other systems that are, coming out and seem great, I just haven't taken a lot of time. you know, and I might occasionally watch like a video on somebody else's channel.
Sure.
I think we might have talked about this last month. Will from D&D Shorts did a couple of videos on Critical Role's new system that is escaping me now. And just kind of based on what he said, I sort of formulated my own opinion, which is that I don't know if this game is for me. So yeah, I don't know a lot about what Kobold Press is doing. And I actually haven't even watched another content creator's video about it either, for that matter. So I'm really in the dark.
Yeah.
So you tell me what you think. Let's have a conversation. Again, Discord would be great. Like, we've got a little sub channel, right, for like other TTRPGs. Mm-hmm. Feel free to at me there if you want, and just say, well, like, here's the kind of general gist, and maybe if there's a good resource of a 20 to 30 minute video that somebody else has created about it that kind of gives a nice high level overview, it might be something I'd check out.
Nice. Uncanny Pally says, how many graphic tees do you own?
I have no idea. A lot. It's like the only clothing item that I buy anymore these days. Since I've left the corporate finance world, it's just all t-shirts. Although this one is just plain.
How many of them are from sponsors?
Very few.
Oh.
I started getting rid of some of them even this week. I'm going through my closet, and my closet is just like piles and piles of t-shirts now, and I don't organize them at all, and so I'm just like, oh, where is the one that I'm trying to find right now, and I can never find it.
You need a closet optimizing channel to help you out.
Yeah, the only t-shirts that I've ever gotten from sponsors are the Obvious Mimic ones.
Oh.
So
those ones are awesome too.
They have two series, right? There's ones that are like a place. It's like they're called Wish You Were Here. So there's like the Sword Coast or Waterdeep or Neverwinter, you know, those ones. And then the other ones are like
there's like the Mind Flayer.
They're like it's like businesses.
Yeah.
It's like Owlbear Tavern or the Red Dragon Inn or. Mind Flayer's hypnotherapy or whatever the business is. Yeah, so just those ones. All the others, and honestly, like the majority of my t-shirts, because sometimes people will ask like, oh, where'd you get that tee? And I'm like, I have no idea. Like, it just popped up on my Facebook feed or my Instagram feed, and I was like, oh, click. Yeah. Or I might be like, you know what? Like, I love Snake Eyes and G.I. Joe, but like I don't own any cool like G.I. Joe Snake Eyes thing, so I'll go on like one of those like TeePublic or whatever and just be like Snake Eyes G.I. Joe and be like, oh, that one's cool. So yeah, I just think about that every once in a while of like what's a movie that I really loved, or you know, some show or cartoon or whatever that like I really identify with, and like I want to wear it on my chest, and I'll just go Google something and find like a Gatchaman, you know, that pink G-Force Battle of the Planets tee that I bought a few months ago or whatever was that. I was just like, I loved that show when I was a kid. Like, I bet there's a cool T-shirt out there that has them on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Zanny over in Discord says, what do you use as criteria to determine your build names?
Oh, gosh.
And I think besides the input of help me name my builds,
right?
Channel,
yeah,
which, if you're not a part of, be a part of that.
That's
channel.
been huge lately. Yeah. Like, and it's actually just a lot of fun too to shout out like all my favorites. You know what I mean? In a quick fire, like, what should we name this video? And so thanks to you guys, for those of you who contribute regularly there. There's good ones, and more often than not I'm using one of your suggestions than I'm using something I came up with. As far as criteria goes, none. Like, just what I think might get the most clicks. And well, I want to find a balance of like what's going to get clicks and what does a pretty good job of explaining what this character actually is.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes it's more of one than the other, right? So sometimes it's just like the Swords Bard or whatever, like, and that's boring, but at the same time, like, the Scarlet Pimpernel, like, is catchier, but I bet 70% of my audience have no idea what the Scarlet Pimpernel is, you know what I mean? So they're going to be like, eh? And so yeah, so something that's like catchy, mixed with something that does a good explanation of what the thing is,
Yeah.
right? So like for the video you just finished editing, the Bardian Angel, oh, so
Great
good,
name.
right?
Great name.
So good, like, and it tells you what it is,
For sure.
right? It's a bard tank.
Yep.
And yet, like, it also, and it's more than just a bard tank. It's like they're somehow they're shiny.
Yeah.
They're like they're bright
radiant.
and yeah. And so that's perfect, right? It's both kind of catchy and also
Right.
does a good job of kind of cluing the reader in or the viewer in on what this build is probably about.
Because there's nothing worse than like you click on a video and you're like, I think this is this,
Yeah.
and then you click on it, you're like,
Yeah.
I don't want this. This
Yeah.
is not what I thought it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can understand.
And a lot of times, I'll put something different in the thumbnail than in the title of the video. Not
Right.
always, but like, if there might be something that might be a little more clickbaity or funny or flashy or attention grabby that I can put in the thumbnail, like even if it's just like, I don't know, Moon Druid plus Blade Singer question mark, like, you know what I mean, that might make people go, oh, but then the title of the video isn't Moon Druid plus Blade Singer, it's whatever, the Moon Singer, I think we called that one, something like that. So yeah, just the thumbnail usually is the thing that maybe I want to be a little more like grab your attention.
Sure.
And then the title of the video can do that too, but more needs to be a good explanation of what the character actually does, right? Anyways.
Yeah, no, makes perfect sense. Finson over in Discord says, my party is now, this is kind of a big one.
Okay.
So let's buckle up.
I'm ready.
My party is now level 13, Paladin, me, Rogue, Cleric, Wizard, and we acquired a lot of gold and went for a big shopping session. It was fine at the beginning, but then our DM said that it was out of control and wanted to limit it. We're using same magic items, we're using same magic item price list. And everybody was free to get an item except legendary artifact items. To me, having a bunch of rare, very rare items in level 13 is fine, but our DM is afraid that we're gaining too much power and wanted to limit items. My problem with limiting the magic items is the gap between the marshals and casters will be larger. What are your thoughts on this? For me, the answer is D&D 5e is not a good system to run at high levels, and we will face these kind of problems no matter what. Sorry for the long post.
No, that's great. And you know what? That's a great question. I am of two minds on this issue. The optimizer in me, of course, wants my DM to have like a set system and be like, okay, look, if you want to craft a magic item, this is how it works. Or if you want to buy a magic item, you can do that in this world. There's a Magic Items R Us shop in every major city, and they're all going to have these kinds of things, like all greens, blues, and purples, or whatever, right? And that's my World of Warcraft showing. All uncommon, rare, and very rare magic items. And that's great because A, what else am I going to spend my gold on? Exactly. B, like it helps me like just really like, get meticulous and pick the best things that's going to help my build and just really optimize them to the nines, and that's fun for me and for a lot of people. The problem with that, though, and the way that I find myself leaning more towards is like it can take away some of the fun of like magic items.
Yeah.
And it can totally change a build. So and I think I'm particularly thinking this ever since we did our playtest one shot. Me, Chris, Treant Monk, Pack Tactics, and then Insight Check. Jeremy was running, was DMing it, right? And at first, and Chris actually, if you guys haven't seen this, Treant Monk put out a video. This was probably 3 months ago. That talked about this issue, and I can't remember what the name of the video was. It was something about like, don't let your players choose their magic items or something like that. And he made some really good points, and it really kind of influenced, I think, how I think about it, because this was going to be a one shot. We were going to be set level, and we were told, okay, like you can have like one of these kinds of magic items and one of these kinds of magic items or whatever, right? And then we kind of went, okay, knowing that I'm going to get this magic item, I'm going to totally change my build.
Sure, dump this stat and get
right. That's the worst. That's the worst when you that's the most sort of like flagrant violation. If I know that I'm going to get a belt of giant strength, I can dump my stat, and even though I'm a paladin, well, you have to have at least 13. Anyways, whatever. Strength is important to me, but I can dump it, and then I'm going to have a 25 strength. Like that kind of thing is super cheesy. And I did it in Baldur's Gate 3 all the time, but that's okay because it's a video game, right? And you can respec. In D&D, it's like it would completely alter our characters and our builds, and it just, I don't know, it made it feel, well, I guess you'd say it made it feel more like a video game, and I love video games, but maybe I don't want too much video game in my TTRPG.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And as fun,
influenced by, not borrowed from.
Yeah. And as fun as it was to, like in our Anaria games with Corey, right, our DM, have like basically a Magic's R Us kind of system. It was almost like the kid at Christmas who like knows what he's getting for Christmas. And it like ruins surprise. Christmas. Yeah, even though you got everything you wanted. Yep. Like it sort of it almost keeps you from being more creative, doing things, having fun. I don't know. Like, but that said, like I say all of this with like a great fear and trepidation that Dallin is now going to be like, okay, you know what? Those are some good points. From now on, like, you can't get the magic items you want. And I'm going to be like, oh, I don't want, like, a ring of ramming or whatever. Like, I want a ring of protection.
I'm always in the mindset of, like, it's mostly a low magic world.
Sure.
And you will find what you need along the way.
Sure. And I think
my approach.
as long as your martial characters can have fairly easy access to magic weapons.
Sure.
So they don't have to deal with like this enemy is resistant to non-magical attacks. Right. And maybe for those classes who particularly suffer from non-magic items, like monks, for example, who are making unarmed strikes, and if they don't have, that don't scale compared to magic weapons, then you got to give them something, right, that's going to help them scale a little bit, stuff like that. But that was a long answer to a long question. I don't know if how you guys feel about it. Maybe there's a happy medium there where it's like, okay, tell me, player, this is the DM talking, like, what's the most important magic item for you to really help your character excel? Or give me like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll find a way to try and work at least one of those in. But other than that, like, we're going to be rolling on tables and or I'm going to find something that I think is cool and I'm going to throw it at you and, see what you guys do with it. And so maybe you can do a little of both. Don't make it just a total smorgasbord.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of like, you can have any magic item you want as long as you can afford it. Even though, again, parts of me really like that. So yeah.
Matt in the chat, Matt Marshall says, I heard the 2024 Player's Handbook might have more standard guidance for magic items, including standard pricing.
Yeah, they talked about that in the most recent, like when Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford were talking with, come on, brain, must be Friday. What's his name that always does the interviews? Glasses, really cool guy.
Yeah,
Todd Kendrick. That was one thing that they talked about, and I really liked that. I was really happy to hear that because they could use a lot more structure around crafting magic items and or purchasing them, I think, in the DMG. So yeah, I'm hopeful that they'll have that, and maybe even some guidance like that says, look, don't just make everything available to your players, whoever wants whatever they want, but here's kind of some guidelines that might help you decide what to give them access to and what not to give them access to.
Corel in the chat says, I always ask my players for a wish list. I think that's a great idea, because as a DM, it's a little bit nerve-wracking to be like, I think you're going to love this.
Yeah.
And then you give it to them and they're like, I will never ever use this. And you're like, oh. I give you this really cool trident thingy, and dang it, I didn't realize your bonus action was always going to be spoken for.
Yeah, I think Corey was a little guilty of that maybe a couple of times, right? Unless, well, never mind. Yeah, and sometimes you almost feel bad as a player.
Yeah, because you're I really want to
it's like this. When your dad gives you a present and you're like, I didn't want Reeboks, I wanted Nikes, but now I gotta act like I'm really happy to have these.
Yeah.
Yeah, in kind of that same way, it's like, oh, thanks for this magic item that I'm never gonna use.
Yeah, how much can I sell it for again? What was the price tag?
Yeah. But then, finding ways to it's fine to find ways as a player to try and get creative around, oh, well, I've got this new thing now that I can maybe use once in a while. So yeah, maybe I'll use it once in a while.
I am a big fan of an item that you just attach to your sword or something, and then it's hey, every 25% of the time you're going to do extra damage. Roll an additional d4, and every time it's a 1, add an extra damage.
Yeah.
It's I don't know, that feels a little video gamey,
sure.
But also it's unique, it's different. At least you're not worrying about them not using it. They're always going to be a chance at more damage, of course. So.
And I will say that I do enjoy, Corey often would, he was a big fan of Hit Point Press. And their what was that?
Gryffindor
Saddlebag.
Yeah.
Gryffindor Saddlebag.
Gryffindor!
The Griffin Saddlebag.
Yeah.
And that had a ton of magic items in it. And some of them were really powerful. And there were a ton of just fun, silly, flavorful stuff. And that kind of stuff, depending on your table, right?
Sure.
Can be great to throw in, that where it's just this is mostly just kind of ribbony and fun and funny, and those kinds of things almost always lead to some fun role play moments and interaction and stuff like that. But then every player should probably get at least one item that they really want and that's really gonna help their character. The only problem with that though is if it's me, it's just always numbers. And I'm always just I know flight's great, but I want a +2 to hit and damage.
Yeah.
Or I want the wizard spellbook thing, Grimoire or whatever, that's going to increase my DC by 2 and my spell hit chance by 2. Because I'm just boring and it's always numbers. And maybe that's the real problem for me, right? With getting to choose my own magic items is I will always pick the numbers. And then at the end of the day, it's not actually as fun.
Yeah.
It's the same reason why I don't like playing wild magic. But if I did, I would probably have a blast with it, right? Because it's this is a game and it's supposed to be fun and crazy and silly sometimes.
You just can't account for it. You just never know when it's going to just mess up your day or help in an amazing way.
Yeah.
Going along the lines of magic items, McDeezy over in Discord says, I'm starting Vecna, Nest of the Eldritch Eye for my party of 4. Barbarian, Bard, Fighter, Wizard. It starts at level 3, but there's no reference for starting magic items.
Mm-hmm.
A few items are grabbed within this one-shot adventure, but I'm concerned that when they go play Vecna, Eve of Ruin, which I think is the next one, they'll be underpowered and maybe won't be balanced for that campaign. Any recommendations at starting at a higher level with magic items?
Yeah, that can be tough because I think, an earlier commenter said, balance is not great already in D&D 5e for high-level stuff. And sometimes players, more often than not maybe, players are overpowered compared to, the combat encounters you're throwing at them.
Okay.
Now,
hard agree.
Now, granted, and the challenge is, it's not that you can't make your encounters more difficult. It's that it seems like the sweet spot is about this big, right? And on this side, they steamroll everything, and on this side, they TPK.
Yep.
And if you're not fudging numbers, and if you're committed to like not fudging numbers, now that might just be hearsay because we haven't played a ton of high level content.
I mean,
and maybe the more you play it, the better you get at it.
Sure.
As a DM and as a player.
Yeah. Like, are you talking like level 20? Like,
right.
Yeah,
or like 12 and up.
12 and up. Yeah.
Call it.
I
right?
think there's a few campaigns that kind of go there, but most of the content isn't even geared towards that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's hard to know for sure. But from my experiences, throwing high level like encounters at you guys.
Yeah.
Is very tough.
Yeah.
It's like I throw the whole book and hope that you don't die, but also hope that, like you said,
you don't
steamroll.
TPK. And especially if you don't have a table full of optimizers, but there's just one optimizer.
It's a whole different. That's a whole different thing.
Because it's like
you want a high AC.
Now, if my
monster.
optimizer goes down, my party's dead.
Yeah, exactly.
I think, and this is not the question that was asked, but I think I have to believe that. Because I don't love the idea of fudging numbers. Like, and if you are, don't tell me. Like, make me believe that the dice are actually deciding the outcome here. But maybe one way to help avoid that is probably not making your monsters do more damage, but giving them more hit points.
Yeah.
I think making them harder to kill is going to make the combat more challenging, but maybe has less a risk of wiping your party than just making them glass cannons too.
The thing that really increases the difficulty I've come to find is actually AC. If you get the AC high where they're having to roll 16s, 17s to even hit,
right.
Now that's a super dangerous encounter
Sure.
because they can hang on forever before they get hit, the monsters, and now you're in hot water. If you get a crit, you're like, oh crap.
Or now, like,
going the way of health is probably a little bit safer option.
Or it might force your great weapon master using barbarian to not use great weapon master, so he doesn't get that -5 to hit. So he's at least hitting more reliably, that kind of thing. And then what he'd do is you'd go to my spreadsheet and look for the yellow cell and be like, okay, we found the monster's AC. Is it 18? Nope, I got to turn great weapon master off. That's what I would do. Anyways,
where can we get that spreadsheet? It's in the description of your video.
Every video description.
Yeah.
Let's see. The question though was like recommendations on magic items, like for high level play, and like if we're starting, because doesn't that Vecna campaign start at like 16?
So this one is the one shot, and it says
right.
starts at level 3, and then the starts at level 10, ends at 20. So it's a 10 to 20 campaign.
Okay. I mean, you know what? I think you err on the side of caution and don't overload them with more magic items.
Yeah.
I think as long as the marshals have a +1 weapon, and maybe your casters don't even have that. Like maybe give them one of those new from Tasha's things that lets them get a better DC and a better spell hit chance. Something like that. I'd probably do like like we've done in the past, like everybody can have 1 green and 1 blue.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But again, level 10 on, characters start getting really strong. Even before that, arguably. But but I think if it feels like, okay, you know what, these guys are struggling, like I need to beef them up a little bit, then you could throw a flame tongue longsword at them or whatever. But I think before that, you start small.
Awesome. Okay, we've got another Discord question from Zanny. I'm currently playing through Dungeon of the Mad Mage as an Order of Scribes wizard. My DM has challenged me to play a straight class wizard to test my ability to go straight class without multi-classing.
You sound like one of my commenters in the comment section.
She's currently level 9, has an 8 strength, a 16 dex, 14 con, an 18 intelligence, and a 10 wisdom and charisma. She has the Warcaster feat alongside the Eldritch Adept. I gave her Armor of Shadows. Do you have any recommendation as to further progression? The only thing I know I'm doing with her is taking True Polymorph as her main 9th level spell when we get to that point.
I mean, the good thing about wizards is they're wizards,
Yeah, exactly.
right? So it's like, of all the classes, I'm least concerned about scaling. You know, it's probably a wizard.
Yeah.
If it were like a barbarian or a monk, I'd be like, whoa, that DM is mean. But I mean, yeah, you know that every 2 levels you're going to get another level of spells, and that in and of itself is,
Yeah.
you know, you're going to be golden. Scribes wizards are fun, but it feels to me like they're more fun when you find a fun interaction to multiclass them with. Because then you can start doing crazy things like taking advantage of the Tempest Clerics, you know, max damage on lightning or thunder, or push them with lightning damage kind of stuff, right? Other than that, though, gosh, I would say, like, just keep on keeping on. Like, bump your intelligence and just, like, dominate the battlefield with all of your awesome wizard stuff, right? I mean, Wall of Force, like, Mass Suggestion soon. There's so many, and so many other just awesome, like, utility-based spells. But, yeah, I guess I would just say, like, if it were me and I were forced to play, like, a straight wizard, I would be focusing on control, you know, and making that like my main go-to, because I think those are the actually most powerful spells in the game.
Yeah, I think you've convinced me. I always was like, I love Evoker, and Evoker is so fun.
Yeah.
And it is. It is. There's nothing better than Fireball. But
Sure.
at the same time, I'm like, no, like, the point of a wizard isn't to, like, go smash the bed. It's like, I'm going to do these things that help my guys, and I'm going to bring the walls crashing down.
Right.
I'm going to trap someone over there. And it just feels more wizardy.
Well, and when you have, especially once you get into higher level and you've got like tons of spell slots, depending on your table, depending on how many combat encounters you have per long rest, right? How long is it going to be before those spell slots reset? You can really get to the place where you're like almost never casting cantrips, right?
Yeah.
If you're only having 2 or 3 combat encounters a day, and each encounter lasts 4 to 6 rounds or whatever, like, you can be concentrating on an awesome control spell, throwing down Hypnotic Pattern or Fear or Wall of Force, or, you know, suggestion type spells. Tasha's, what's it called? Hideous Laughter, you know, all that kind of stuff. And, or buffing, right? If you want to instead be like hasting or, you know, whatever. And then still be like throwing out your fireballs and your, you know, burning hands and, you know, stuff like that on your turn, like with your action as often as not. And that's cool. Like, that's when, to me, like, Wizard gets a lot more fun. Yeah. Because those early levels, you're like, oh, like, I only have the few spell slots. Even, like, level 5, level 6, like, yeah, you can fireball, but you got two fireballs a day. Well, maybe, well, no, you got 2 fireballs a day. And it's just like, okay, like, when am I going to use... And, of course, at that point, you probably shouldn't be fireballing. You should be using Hypnotic Pattern or Fear or Slow. And so that's like... But then, yeah, once you get, you know, 8, 9, 10 level, and you can be, like, throwing down a huge control and using your first, second, third level spell... Well, save your first level spells for shield. But you can be using your second and your third and maybe even fourth level spells for cool, fun, other stuff, right? I don't know. So yeah, I would say have fun being a wizard and find ways to take advantage of that spell book, that floating spell book. If you haven't seen it yet, Chris, Treant Monk, did a couple of awesome videos on Scribe Wizards. They're probably a year old or so now, maybe not quite that. But one in particular that really talked about like just like taking advantage of their spell book and how you can like teleport it into places and cast spells from its location and all kinds of crazy shenanigans you could get up to with that. So watch that for sure, because it was a good one and might give you some new ideas.
Zanny's also in the chat, actually. It says, Hypnotic Pattern is one of my favorite to use in this particular dungeon. It's even more fun because I can change the damage type in case I come across something with resistance, which is awesome.
Yeah.
For spell mastery, for example, I plan on taking Vortex Warp and Shield. Can't go wrong with
Yeah.
Shield. Can't go wrong with Shield.
Vortex Warp is a great one too, because you can just like every time without spending spell slots, just like every round, bam, 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 bam. You over there, you over there, you over there.
And yes, I saw Chris's vid, so
It's a good one.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, we have 1 minute, and we have one more question from Discord. Why don't we just
Let's do it.
McDeezy, what are your thoughts on the new Dragon redesigns? Is there any art you're looking forward to from the Player's Handbook?
That's a good question, and I don't know. That's another one that I don't know that I have a lot to say about, other than I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they do. Yeah, like dragons to me are the quintessential D&D monster, more than beholders, more than anything else.
Yeah. And it's in the title of the game.
Yes,
You
exactly.
have to be
And so
good at
I want to
dragon.
see dragon options at every level, and I want to see them be big bad meanies and have some cool diversity between, you know, the blue and the white and the green and the red, other than just their breath weapon, right?
Yeah.
So it seems like they're going to be doing all of those things, and I hope so, and I'm excited. As far as what new art I might be looking forward to, like all of it. Seriously, like that's one of my that's one of the things, and this might sound weird to people who watch my channel regularly. Like I'm almost looking forward to the new art as much as I am like learning the new rules in the system. I don't know what it is about just getting like a good, you know, book and just kind of being like, ooh, I just want to like go through every page and like, oh, like look at that guy, like that looks so cool. You know, so yeah, I love that they're maybe my favorite thing about what I've heard anyways, and maybe the thing that I'm most looking forward to about the art, I guess I would say, is that they're going to have like an awesome art piece dedicated to every subclass.
Oh, cool,
Which I think, yeah, like that to me, the subclass of a class is maybe like
It's like it's
the most important thing about my character.
Yeah,
right?
It is.
And it's the thing that sets them apart most from not only other characters, like other classes, of course, but other, other
Characters
people
within
of
the
that
class.
same class, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, give me a shadow monk and show me how different they look and feel than a 4 elements monk and an open hand, monk or whatever.
And I don't know about you, but I'm like a big like visual person, and so when I'm picking what kind of class I want to play, the art kind of goes into it.
For
it's
sure.
like, oh, this is that type of character.
Yeah,
This is more of like a scholarly type person. Okay, maybe I'll play that one. Oh, this guy lurks in the shadows and has got his daggers out. Like that sounds kind of fun. So
for sure.
Sounds awesome. Okay, well that's everything in the chat and in the Discord.
Okay.
So
thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us. Thank you so much for your support. Yeah, you guys are the best. Love you. And honestly, like this is like, I was thinking about this earlier today. This is like my favorite day of the month, every month. Because it's just fun. It's just like you just get to relax and just hang out and like pontificate and, just shoot the shiz and it's
talk
just
smack about Red Rising.
And just talk smack about Red Rising and just geek out on nerdy things with my friend and with my friends. So yeah, you guys are awesome. Thank you. And I guess we'll see you next month, and we'll see you online.
See you, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Stop streaming.